I just wanted to make a video about a rather simple champion, Garen. We all know Garen, right? And it's quite simple, but actually there is way more into the champion as most of the people think, right? So now I will go for a Stridebreaker build, right? There's an alternative build on Garen. The Gale Force one is first strike, but 99% of the players will play Stridebreaker with Berserker boots. That's the general build, right? So I'm level 7, I'm gonna disable also minions in here just like that. And in some matchups, so it's important to understand, in some matchups you will Q max, in some matchups you need to E max. Usually against range you Q max, against melee you E max, right? Now there are some combos on Garen, such as for example you can Q and you can flash away, and oh, what the fuck is this? And that won't actually cancel your Q, right? So for example, you Q the enemy Gnar, right? But he Ws. Your Q won't get cancelled, so you can flash through him and you can dodge his W, right? Or maybe there is a Kane or some type of champion you want to Q, but at the same time you don't want to get damaged by their ability, and then you can like outplay that certain stun ability such as the Ignite W, which is really easy to react to. Then we can just all in him and probably just kill him, right? Now there is another interesting thing, right? So Garen's E can be only cancelled after 1 second. Now this didn't happen because of my cooldown, right? So only after 1 second you can cancel it, right? But here is another trick, right? You can actually insta-cancel it with your ultimate, right? In fact, you can even cancel your Q animation with your ult. Oh wait, I have to have ult first for that. So you can cancel your Q animation with your ult. Well, I fucked it up actually. Just like that. Now also there is another mechanic on Garen. You shouldn't just Q people. More than often you should auto Q them, right? These are just some basics. And also there is like a spacing with your E, right? So we can see this is 125 range, auto attack range, right? My E has like 225 or 200, something like that, right? And there are lots of champions in the game such as Jax. He has 125 auto range, which means let's just start the minions out so he will walk out of the... Where is Jax? Where is Jax? I spawned the Jax, but very soon. So it's here. Let's turn on the healing, let's turn on the tower set. So the general idea is you can outspace the enemy champion in the sense that you damage him with your E, but at the same time you don't get damaged by his autos, right? So his autos are shorter than my own auto attack range, right? Which is also important to understand, and it makes it easier to trade. And also like you can outspace his auto range. So for example, the more he leans deeper, the more you lean outer as well, so he never gets to be in an auto attack range, right? So but you need to have more mobility for that to generally do that, right? But there is like a way, so if he's leaning towards you, then you can E and like click backwards, right? And then there is like a way how you can just you can at the same time damage him, but you just disallow him to auto attack you, right? So this Jax is just a bot and he's playing perma defensively. But my explanation is simple for that. So this is 125 range, he has 50 less range than I have on my auto attack. So his auto range is really short, something like this, right? Yeah, it's a bit shorter than mine, so the general idea is that if you have some mobility, or if he's running towards you, it's really easy to spin and just outspace his auto attack range by clicking backwards, which will allow you to damage him, but at the same time he can damage you, right? Now usually you need to have boots for that, because Jax has more movement speed than you do. I don't know why does he have boots. I don't know how did he get boots. I don't have boots. I don't know how did this level 1 dummy get boots and the D-shield. I actually don't get it. But usually they don't have boots at the beginning, which makes it easier to outspace his auto attacks with your E. Now what else is there to say, right? Now another important thing. Garen's W should really be understood as a really important ability that you should pay attention when you use it, right? So it says it gives you 60% tenacity, it gives you 30% damage reduction and the shield, right? But it doesn't last for a too long time, which means you gotta time, it has a long cooldown as well, right? So it just generally means that you gotta time it when you are all-inning or when the enemy champion all-ins you. For example, it's not okay that you press Q and you smash your W button and your E at the same time and hoping that things will work out. No, you need to time your W when to dodge an important CC with it, right? Because you get shit ton of tenacity, or time it to a burst damage ability that they may have, but you can just press QW at the same time, and you can just you gotta use your W more reactively In some case scenario you need to predict with your W because some abilities are really hard to be reacted towards too, but it's really important for you to use your W as a tool, as like a Fiora parry basically, right? As a Fiora parry, we can say it that way, right? Now what else is there to look at Garen, right? We've been talking about flash combos. Another basics about Garen, when you get boots, generally you're gonna get way more damage. Let's get gold as well. Boots, generally wanna get Berserker boots, I don't think so any other boots will benefit you. Then the general thing is Trinity Force or Stride Breaker, but most of the times people will go Stride Breaker. Trinity Force is better at pushing towers and it provides more DPS, but it's not really Garen style, so most of the times people will go Stride Breaker. The only alternative is Gale Force with the first strike build, but this is more so a top lane Garen guide. It's not like the first strike style guide, right? And also I wanted to point out another thing, right? There are some Stride Breaker combos. Of course you can use your Stride Breaker in any of your animations basically. You can even use it in your reanimation, right? Oopsie. Just like that, right? Because you can use it meantime you're moving, right? So you don't lose out distance. And another thing that's important to be understood, Stride Breaker has like 350 range, perhaps 350, like 400, which means if you're running towards someone, you got to Stride Breaker first, so you can catch up to get into Q range, right? So you shouldn't Stride Breaker all the time when you Q someone and then you E and you Stride Breaker, right? Sometimes you should also keep your Stride Breaker to disengage. For example, you all in someone, right? And your Stride Breaker should be used as a tool to disengage from the trade, not to engage, right? Or you can even time it. For example, if someone plays phase rush, right? You don't want to all-in that person with Stride Breaker because they're just gonna break out of your Stride Breaker, right? You want to time it when they don't have the phase rush anymore, right? Now the phase rush is also an option on Garen. It's definitely good against range champions or in matchups where the matchup is generally difficult. So you value that escaping power. You can even go ghost, phase rush, flash, that's totally fine. And also 99% of the times most of the Garen players will go Mortal Reminder, and that's not correct actually, right? In some games you can actually get Phantom Dancer, right? Because Mortal Reminder got nerfed, and also the other reason is often people won't have enough healing, or you're gonna only side lane, which generally means that Phantom Dancer can be more valuable. They give approximately the same stats, but the passive effect is different, and also you get the ghosted effect on Garen, which means you can go through units. So how does this serve you? So generally this is better inside when you need to side lane against champions that have like 0 healing, right? And why is this good? Because usually when you're side laning you want to push towers and you want to have more fighting power, right? So with Phantom Dancer against non-healing champions, it grants you 30 more attack speed, which also affects your E-spins, right? And also you get way more mobility, which generally means, like, look at your speed, it's really high actually, even without Q, right? And with Q it's insanely high. So, and it also provides more pushing power, you can go through units as well, right? So it definitely has its own purpose. Especially if they are low on on healing, or your teammates already have healing, then it's not really a necessity for you to go Mortal Reminder. For example, you face a Cannon or a Rumble top. Against those champions you generally want to side lane, and the thing is, like, Mortal Reminder won't really serve you in any type of place. Also, what else do we get on Garen? Hullbreaker 3rd is great when it comes to side laning, definitely a good item. Definitely really good if you are looking to mostly side lane, 100% a good item. It can be viable now, but what if you don't wanna side lane, then what do we get on Garen? So this is one of those items that can be a power spike option. Then again, what alternatives do we have? If they have an insanely lots of armor stacking, like they have Rammus, Malphite, they have lots of armor stackers, we gotta go for Black Cleaver. There is a word where you get Black Cleaver, right? Now, what alternatives do we have? I feel like Syrax is probably just still really bad. Thornmail is also bad on Garen because you don't get the 40% chance, so it means it's just simply bad. Then again, there are such options on Garen. If you are looking to assassinate more often, you can even get third item. How is it called? Forgot its name. I'm gonna click in here and find the item itself. So, Edge of Night or Yomu's Ghostblade. So when do you get Edge of Night and when do we get Yomu's Ghostblade, right? So if you are side laning against Vayne, Edge of Night is really insane because Vayne can't ever E away. So if you are looking to engage, she can't E away because of the Edge of Night, because there is no literal other way that she procs Edge of Night except with her E, right? Same thing applies to Annie when she has her stun up. If she throws her stun at your Edge of Night, it generally means that it will be wasted and she has no stun anymore to disengage, but you can also W any stun, right? That's an option, definitely. Now what else is there to point out on Garen? Maw is definitely an option if you value more offensive stats, but instead of Maw you generally want to go Force of Nature. On Garen definitely it's just generally better to be more tanky. Also it provides you lots of mobility, HP. It's really an insane item if they have a lots of ticking damage, such as if they have a Brand or Lilia. They should have like consistent AP damage, or they should have like shit ton of AP for you to go for this item. Now what else do we have here? Dead Dance is not that great. It's really expensive, and the problem, if you like, depends if your team or you can get a reset. It's more so a team fight item, right? So if your team or you can get a reset, it can be fine, but it's a risky item. Thornmail is not that great on Garen because you already go for Mortal Reminder if you need anti-heal, so I wouldn't recommend you to go for it. Randuin's another itemization that you can go for. When do we get Randuin's? Usually you get Randuin's if they're stacking a lots of crit, which generally means that Randuin's will provide a lots of anti-crit, right? It's generally a good item. It provides lots of solid stats. Definitely a great item to build. It always depends like how offensive or defensive you wanna go, right? For example, you can also go something like this. Can also go something like this as well. So this is a turbo offensive build, which I wouldn't really recommend, but you will have an insane amount of burst damage. At the same time you're really squishy, so you have really insane damage even without ultimate, right? Now your ult will usually deal way more damage because here's the thing, it's a dummy with only 1000 HP, right? So this would be a really offensive build, but I wouldn't really recommend it at best for normal games, because is the thing, the issue with this build is that you're gonna be too vulnerable, so I'm not a big fan of going for this build. It's just a too greedy build. Now what else do we have here on Garen to use? Spirit Visage can be fine, I assume, to some degree, if you have a Soraka in your team, or some type of support that can shield or heal. To some degree it can be fine. Gargoyle is good if you have more HP items in general. For example, like you need more HP items in total for you to make it worth to go for it. Deadman's Plate is something I would recommend if you still struggle to get on top of the enemy team, even though you have already a lot of mobility. That generally helps you to access, to have better target access. Now what else is to talk about? You can also ult flash, which is really important again. For example, you want to ult someone, but most of the Garens when they ult, they stay in one position, right? Because you can't move in your ult animation. That's 100% true. And then here is the thing, right? As I said, you can ult flash, and this will usually serve you in fights where, for example, I don't know, maybe Aatrox throws at you his third Q, and it would kill you. But if you can like ult and flash through it, then you won't die, right? So it's really important to understand that you can flash Q, you can ult flash, really important. Now what else is there? There are some, like there is like a Gale Force, right? With Gale Force things gonna get different, but that's another playstyle, so I won't really talk about it, right? Phase Rush is an option, but now we are playing with the Conqueror build, right? Generally against melee champions you want to get Conqueror. What else is there to point out on Garen? I think I mainly got everything. Mainly we got everything in here. Explained that it's on my mind. Probably there is more into Garen than I'm actually pointing out in here. There's definitely way more into Garen than I'm pointing out in here, but these are the things I can think of itemization wise, how to use your abilities correctly. Then again, as I said, like the Gale Force style is another thing, which definitely you gotta know the Gale Force combos, right? And also Phase Rush is a different style again. Ruination is coming again. Didn't it already happen?